Hello and welcome to this very special webinar, especially for customers of IQ Accounting Solutions. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Steve Collins very much for facilitating this webinar and to enabling us to present to his customers. My name is Hugh Johnson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Suntico. If you have any questions after this webinar, you can reach me on LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, or by email at hugh.johnson@suntico.com. And of course, you can also direct your questions to Shirley Bayard at Best Business Strategies as well. On the agenda today, we have a 30-minute formal session where I will give you an overview of what Suntico is and how to get started with Suntico. And then after that, we'll take any questions and answers. If you think of any questions during the presentation, if you just add them in to the questions box you have within your GoToWebinar panel, then we'll pick them up at the end of the formal session and address them, or you can ask them at the end. So without further ado, what I will do is get started. Firstly, just a very, very brief introduction to what Suntico is. And if I were trying to present what Suntico is or define Suntico on a single slide, what I would describe it is an alchemy that converts your base data within Sage 50 into precious information that's useful across the entire organization. And the reason we do this is to help drive productivity across the business. And if you plot productivity in a typical US company, what you will see is that as it grows above about 5 employees, productivity drops quite sharply. And of course, this is quite typical size of a Sage 50 customer. And again, many of you might be different sizes and may have different issues and so on. These are all averages, of course. And surprise, surprise, actually, the number one productivity killer in an organization is actually just finding the information you need to get the job done. And McKinsey Global Institute did a very interesting study a couple of years ago, and they concluded actually that knowledge workers spend up to a day a week just searching for and sifting through the information that they need to do their job. And many examples of sales reps, and this is a classic one, particularly in a business-to-business account management scenario, is that sales reps often spend about a quarter of their time chasing up on information for their customers, investigating the status of an order, chasing up delivery, chasing up queries about an invoice, and so on and so forth. And of course, a lot of this data is actually held within Sage 50, but the sales rep doesn't have access to that, necessarily have access to that Sage 50 information. And so why can't people find information? Well, I've actually touched on one of it, which is a lot of that valuable information is in Sage 50, and many of the people in the organization that would want access to that data to perform a task don't necessarily have direct access to Sage 50. Other reasons people can't find information is because people haven't written it down. It's in their heads, or it's buried in a personal inbox somewhere in an email that nobody else can see, or even if it's in their inbox, it may be buried a couple of months ago and they can't find it, or it's on a local file or local hard disk somewhere. So these are all reasons why people can't find information. So what Suntico is what I would call a business-to-business account management solution that ties in very, very tightly to your Sage 50 accounting software. So it pulls out all that information to do with customers, to do with orders, to do with invoices, to do with history, and so on, and enables that information to be accessible by the rest of the organization. So really what we're talking about is providing information to companies that are doing regular business-to-business trading with other companies, where maybe 80% of your business is with a regular set of customers. And in that environment, what you would often have is at any one time, for one customer, you may have several touch points from finance, from production, from delivery, from sales, from marketing, all touching the customer for different reasons at the same time. And in that environment, again, it's very, very important that everybody's on the same page and everybody can see what's going on. And the cornerstone of that is actually your Sage 50 data. Now, it might sound a bit bewildering and a bit challenging to think about putting in a company-wide system. And this is actually, I think, one of the reasons why many small businesses struggle with productivity. They're busy and they don't have the management time to actually put in place a company-wide system. So you know what? We've made that really easy for you. And we've set it as a fundamental design goal of Suntico that you can put in this company-wide system, at least get it installed, get it connected to Sage, get your data implemented, and get users set up in the time that it takes to have a cup of coffee. Too good to be true? Well, let's take a look. But before we go into having a look as to how to get started, let's have a look at the product, because if you don't like the product, there's no point in taking a look at how to get started. Now, what you're looking at now is Suntico as you log on. We're connected to a demonstration company called Bellwether Garden Supply, which is a company that we have set up in Sage 50 account in 2015 on our server in the office. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that Suntico is a web-based product. Okay? Now that's great, because what that means is it removes all constraints over what people might want to use to access Suntico and view the data within Suntico. So they can use a laptop, they can use an Apple Mac, they can use an iPad, they can use a smartphone, they can access the data from home, they can access the data from another office. So that's the power of the web for you. But your Sage 50 data remains safe in your office where it always is. We just pull up a copy of that. So actually what I'll show you is how we go about pulling up a copy of that. What we have installed on our server connected to Sage 50, and it's very, very easy to set up, is what we call a connector. It's a small piece of software that just runs in the background, and I have it connected to this company, Bellwether Garden Supply. And what that's doing is it's synchronizing all these pieces of data. So as I update Sage with any customer information, employee, and so on and so forth, as I update Sage, that information is pushed up into Suntico. If I don't want to share that information with my Suntico application, I can turn off any of these elements that I want as administrator of my Suntico application. The other thing it does, I can control through this panel, is how often it knocks on the door of my Sage 50. I've got this for the demonstration purposes. I've got this set to live, which means basically all the time it's just knocking on the door of Sage 50, looking for an update, and if there's an update, any changes, it pushes that up into Suntico. The next thing, before you get scared of sharing all this information across the business, is that you have full control over who gets access to the data and what they can do with it. So, but we also make it very easy for you to invite your colleagues and get them started. So when you first connect to Suntico, Suntico will pull up your employee file, and from there you can invite other users onto the system just by clicking these buttons. If you don't have them set up in your employee file, you can just put in their email address here and click invite, and that will automatically invite them to this subscription to view this data within Suntico, your subscription. If you want to control what it is they can see, that can all be done through a control panel here, and again, only the administrator of your Suntico subscription has access to this, and you can control what they do, what they can see, and what we have set up for you is 5 previously defined roles, and you can allocate each user to one of these roles, but you can customize those roles, so you can define it in a quite fine-grained way what people can see and do. So that's kind of the setup, and so it takes a copy of your Sage 50 data, and meanwhile your current users on Sage 50 can carry on working away as normal. Okay. Now the next thing that I will show is I will go into just take a quick look at the data that we are actually pulling up from Sage. And the first thing you'll notice is that we're presenting it in a way that I think is perhaps more accessible to people that are not used to looking at accounting software. Okay, Sage 50 US edition I think is actually excellent from that point of view, but I think it still can be a little bit daunting for a non-accounting user. So we've pulled up a list of accounts from the system. This is all the customer accounts, all the vendor accounts pulled up through the system. We've also split out different views, so you have contacts as well, which is just a list of contacts that you have within the system. You have addresses, which you might have, and again, there's different reasons why you might want to view your data in these different ways. You've got all your products, all the line items, and all the products that people have bought, or any transactions that have happened within the system. Okay, you've got all your sales. We've split it out also by sales activity, so you've got your sales accounts, you've got your quotations, your sales orders, and your sales invoices. And your sales orders, you can see any backlog items that are still pending, what's been delivered, what hasn't been delivered. If I drill down into, so that's defined. We can also see sales orders, sales invoices, all pulled up from Sage 50. And again, the same on the vendor side of things, all the purchase records. Now, what I'll do is I'll just go back to my accounts list. And again, there's a few new things here that you wouldn't see in Sage 50. For example, we've got this first column here. Now, this is a bookmark. And the whole idea of this bookmark, remember I was talking about people finding information. The idea of a bookmark is that that's personal to me, and I can choose to bookmark any record within the system that is important to me. And what that means is that those items will always appear at the top of the list when I log into Suntico. So if I'm dealing with Teesdale, I don't have to scroll through page after page of customers before I reach Teesdale. It's there right in front of me. Very, very easy to access. And that's very important actually if you're accessing Suntico through a mobile device or through a tablet or something, where you may have less screen area as well to deal with. The next thing you'll notice that's different is you've got this funny icon here, like this conversation icon. What this is a wall. Now in Sage 50 you'll be familiar with the idea of adding notes and attachments to a record, okay? Now what we've done with Suntico is we've extended that. You see, the problem with adding notes and attachments to a record in Sage 50 is that only the users of Sage 50 can see those notes. And if we're trying to work across the company as a team to maybe get an invoice paid or something like that, it's important that everybody in the company is on the same page. So what we call this notes area against any record in the system is a wall, okay? And the wall is a place where you can add, I'll just open up this as an example. A wall is a place where you can add discussions, you can attach files, and actually you can see straight away this looks more like a kind of social media style thing. And multiple colleagues can collaborate together on a discussion about a particular topic relating to a record within the system, and you can add unlimited number of attachments and so on and so forth. So immediately it's much more powerful because you can have all the discussion threads, you can have all the attachments, you can have attachments to sales orders and purchase orders, and you can have those discussions across the entire company. The next thing that you can do is that, just like in social media, you can choose to follow a record, okay? And again, this applies to all records. It's not just accounts, it's not just contacts. You can apply to your transactions within the system as well. And it's this little icon here. I can choose to follow, and by clicking on this icon here, I'm choosing to follow the account Teesdale Real Estate. And what that means is that if anybody in the company adds a note to Teesdale Real Estate, that note appears in my wall, which is my favorite part of Suntico. So if we go to my wall, this is where all my notes are, okay, or all notes that are relevant to me. And the thing I really, really like about my wall is because I'm lazy, and if I want to maybe attach a note or whatever to a record within the system, I really don't want to be bothered to be plowing through the system to try and look up that record. And actually, as it happens, I've just delivered an item to a customer called Armstrong Landscaping, for example, and I've got them to sign the invoice as proof of delivery. So what I will do is I will add that into the system. I've got it as a scan on my system. I'll just add 10, because I know the invoice number is 10226. Hey, there you go. Invoice Armstrong Landscaping. Please find attached signed delivery note. And I just share that. Oh, I haven't attached it. Okay, let's attach it. And I've got it on my hard drive here. Docket signed. Now I'll share it. Okay. Now what that will do is it will attach that to Armstrong Landscaping, and anybody in the company that has access to that invoice record and is following, in fact anyone that has access to that invoice record can see it. If they happen to be following that invoice record because they're in the process of chasing it up or whatever, that'll appear on their wall. So it's kind of like an internal notification system as well within the company. Another thing I really like about Suntico is the very powerful search facility here. So what I can do is I can start typing if my keyboard would respond to me. They are still too many Armstrong. And what I see, yeah, I've got one sales account there. Let's go over that. So it's found Armstrong Landscaping there, and basically what I can use that search to find the header of any record within the system. Now what I've done is I've used my favorite search facility to find Armstrong Landscaping. I can find any record within the system using that, including invoices and orders and so on. I'm going to drill down to the detail of that account. Now what I have is I've got an account level view menu down the side, so I can have sub accounts. So again, actually this is something you don't have within Sage 50, where maybe there are other accounts within the group, the Armstrong Landscaping group, and I can add them in here and create those relationships. I've got all my contacts that appear within Armstrong Landscaping, my addresses, and if I happen to be out and about and going to visit them, I can quickly call up the map, which could be particularly useful on an iPad or something like that. I've got all the previous history, the sales orders, the sales invoices, and everything that just relate to Armstrong Landscaping. And actually what we'll do is, there's invoice number 10226, okay? Let's call up the wall detail of that invoice, and what we should see is that note that I applied before, and there it is, yeah? So that's the note I posted straight in from my wall. I didn't even have to go to the invoice record to post that and make that available to other people within the system. Within the orders, sales orders side of things, I can see any back orders, any items still on back order, and so on. But I won't go into that. You can log on yourself and open a trial account and log on yourself and see for yourself. Now, so far I've only spoken about accessing data from Sage 50. Okay, I've only showed it to you on a laptop. Now I'm just going to flip out to what's called an iPad emulator. Okay, just to show you what it looks like. On an iPad. And what you see is actually, I think it looks really nice. An iPad is actually a really beautiful product to access and to go through. And you've got lots of data. You've got decent screen real estate there as well. So that's I think that works very well. Just going back to our main view here, we spoke only about data that's come in from Sage 50. But of course, you may be wanting to use Suntico to track prospects that you don't currently have set up within Sage 50. And that's fine, because what you can do is you can create and you can add additional accounts here that are not within Sage 50. And you can add all the details, and these can be prospects, and you can save them, and you can add contacts, addresses, and notes, attachments, and all those discussions that go on with a prospect until they become a customer. When they become a customer, and you set them up in Sage 50, then what you can do is then you can, as part of your data management exercise, you can merge your records together and actually say that prospect is now this customer, and it merges the two records together, and it pulls all. But it means you retain all of that prospect history that you had before. If you've got a lot of prospects, you can import them. So if you've got a couple of thousand prospects or even a couple of hundred prospects, you can import them via an import facility there as well. The next thing I just wanted to show you, just in terms of finding and sorting and enriching your Sage data, is this idea of tags. Okay, so I'll show it on an account level because I think you've probably already seen this out of the corner of your eye on the screen. We've got this extra column here when we look at the account list called tags. Now you can add tags to any record in the system, but what I'm going to show you is just within the accounts list as an example. And you can define your own tags, and you can add a tag to any record in the system. So let's say we had a tag called prospect, and we had Smith Family Garden Centre became a prospect for an opportunity. You could tag them, okay? And all I need to do is start typing, and it suggests the tag for you, and you can save that against the record, and it just labelled them as a prospect. There's no limit to the number of tags you can add to a record, and you can define what your own tags are. And defining your own tags is unbelievably simple, because actually all you need to do is go to my wall, and if I wanted to, let's say, create a new tag called webinar attendee, all I need to do is do hashtag webinar. Now, I'd probably actually want to link that to a customer when I did that, but that's actually created within the database, a tag, which is now reusable across the entire system. So very, very easy to use. And if by accident I create two tags that are very similar, and I actually want to merge them, I've got a management facility here where I can merge tags together, where I don't lose it. So if I say had prospect and prospects, I could merge those two tags together to mean the same thing. It's just a nice way of keeping all my data nice and tidy. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was just show you line item capability that I have within Suntico. And really what I've done here is I've pulled up into Suntico all the transaction line items from all the transactions I have within Sage 50. Now, this gives me a very, very powerful facility to create all kinds of filters and searches across this information. I can define different columns, so I can maybe select, include account, include date in my view, apply that, and I can apply a filter to product code, and I'm not going to take this too far because just because of time, but I did say in this example 22. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got all transactions in the system for this product, including purchase invoices and sales invoices, and what accounts have been involved, both on the vendor side of things and the customer side of things. If I wanted, I could filter further by date range, and the imagination goes wild on this. But I can also export that, and if I've got a favourite view, I can save that list, which actually comes back to just another little thing I just want to show you on this, just in terms of getting through my information. I'll go to sales accounts, just customers, for example. I might always have a desire to, in fact, I've already said there, sorry about that. Say, for example, I particularly wanted to pay attention to customers that owed me more than $10,000. Okay, what I can do is I can say filter the balance on greater than 10. Greater than $10,000, and there's my list of customers. I can save that. I can save the list as owing more than $10,000. Okay, I can choose to make that list public or private, in other words, to make it available to other users on the system. And what that means is this little thing called lists. If I want to come back, there it is. I just click on that, and that pulls me straight into that view. And if I wanted, I can choose to follow that list, which actually means automatically any updates to any of those accounts automatically get posted to my wall, as long as their balance is over $10,000. If their balance drops below that, then I'm no longer interested in, and it no longer happens. A couple of other things I wanted to show you. I'm conscious of time here as well. Of course, it's not all about Sage. It's not all about Sage data. If you're wanting to find information to progress business across the company, it's also about your colleagues. And so what we have is, within Suntico, we have a colleagues directory, and as well as obvious things like emails and so on, you can drill down as well. And if they're involved in events, I can see actually that David is involved in a customer meeting with Teesdale Real Estate on Friday. And it's just a very, very simple way of getting in touch with your colleagues and tracking what they're up to. Very useful for sales management, actually, by the way. The next thing, if you've got people on the system and this kind of social collaboration, we've also added the idea of groups. They're kind of like groups within LinkedIn, but for use within the company, where you can create groups and add members to the groups and hold discussions and discussion threads. I think that's pretty obvious what that functionality does. Now, a couple of final things that I want to show you. I touched on it just briefly there, is events. And an event is like something that happens in the diary, okay? Now, what you can do is you can configure within the system different types of events. I've got set up customer meetings and sales meetings, but you can define whatever it is you want. You can add files and photos and attachments and so on, and I can relate that to any record in the system. So I can create, say, a meeting for Armstrong Landscaping. I can add a time and date, say 1st of July. It automatically defaults to an hour long. I can add options like recurring things. I can invite colleagues. To invite colleagues, all I need to do actually is refer to them here. I'll include David Clancy there, and he'll get notification of this and get an option to also attend that meeting. Now, this event will now get posted to the Armstrong Landscaping account. So when you drill down to the Armstrong Landscaping view, it'll be there against the events for Armstrong Landscaping. And I can do the same for tasks. Tasks, very similar to events, and create a new task within the system. Again, I can set up different defaults, different types of tasks. I can configure that within the system. Again, I can reference any record within the system. I'll do Teesdale Real Estate for this one, for example. I can set start dates, end dates. Another nice thing is multi-user, so I can actually assign a task to another colleague if I want. I can make it public or private, and I can save the task. And again, that task will appear against Teesdale Real Estate, and actually the whole discussion thread, and the same for events as well. The same discussion thread that you have on the wall also appears on the tasks, and you can have full collaboration, as it were, over tasks within the system. Now, the very last thing that I wanted to show you within the system is this big green button here. And one of the most cost-effective ways for a small business to start growing the top-line revenue is by good regular communications quite often with their existing customers. And the simplest way to do that is a regular, say, monthly customer newsletter or whatever. And for many small businesses, this is a real pain to get going. So what we've done is we've made that easy. By definition, your definitive customer list is in Sage. It's in your Sage 50. We synchronize that up to Suntico. You can add any other contacts you want into Suntico, and all you need to do is you can just push that information out up into MailChimp, which happens to be a very, very powerful online e-marketing solution that you can use to drive out e-marketing communications to customers. And the really, really good thing is that MailChimp for a small business for up to 2,000 subscribers is free. So that's really nice. So what we've seen is a whistle-stop tour of Suntico. What I'm not going to show you in any detail at the moment is actually how to get started and doing over a cup of coffee. But what I will do is show you the pointers and then just invite you to get going. We'll send out, at the end of this webinar, we'll send out an email with a link with an invitation to get started. But you can also just go to the website there and click on that button, have a try, and go through the registration process. When you've completed that registration process, you get landed onto your home screen here, except you won't have any contacts or data in here. And all the information you need to get started is in this pop-up here. How to get started, how to install the connector. Actually, to install the connector, the very start of the process, you click this button here, download Suntico Connector, and you step through. It's a very, very simple, wizard-driven thing, but I do recommend you follow the instructions. So that is the end of the demonstration. Just a quick reminder, what it means is 12 things there that I've showed you. I'm not going to read them all out to you, you can read it yourself, that are powered by data from Sage 50 that help drive productivity across the company. The items in red are items that are new, actually in the new release 3, which is getting published on Friday this week. So as you can see, there's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot more activity going on throughout the rest of the year, and in fact, we publish our roadmap on the website. Feel free to go and have a look. Suntico.com/product roadmap. And in fact, the very, very next thing we have coming, which will be next month in July, is what I call account level filtering, which means you'd be able to restrict the views of sales reps and sales managers to particular accounts or particular sales territories. Okay, so that's the end of the formal part of this presentation. If you'd like to get going for yourself, please register for a free trial. We'll be sending out an invitation to you by email, and get yourself connected to Suntico. If you do that this month, I will buy you that cup of coffee that you can enjoy while you get connected to Suntico. Well, actually, I'll be buying for it in retrospect by sending you a Starbucks voucher. I would like to thank IQ Accounting Solutions and Steve Collins for facilitating this webinar. And if you have any questions, please you can contact me directly, hugh.johnson@suntico.com, or you can contact Steve Collins at IQ Accounting Solutions for any follow-up. Thank you very much.